1. 8 years total working restaurant industry, starting at age 15, 5 years serving. I've grown more and more fed up with the industry, because even though I love it, I really am just burnt out of it. I'm now putting myself through school Monday to Friday, and working on the weekends now, just riding it out until I graduate in October. I work in a breakfast restaurant now, which is a first for me and truthfully highly recommend it. It was Sunday morning at 11 a.m., the restaurant was on a 40-minute wait, and the kitchen was slammed. It's been rainy all morning and just cleared up, so it was starting to get nice out, and the patio was empty. For context, I am in Florida and new to this restaurant. A 15-top walks in and did not want to wait, and opted for the patio tables that were open so they sat immediately. I asked to take it on my own. I typically can absolutely rock big parties like this, but having not been at this restaurant or type of restaurant very long, underestimated how much work goes into a party of this size. Everyone wants 3 different drinks, typically water, coffee, and a bar drink. It takes some time to get everyone's drink order and even longer to make it. We do not have a server station very friendly to make more than 1 drink at a time, and I need about 35 different drinks. And to get them rang in, and checks split 6 different ways, with everyone's checks split all across the table, not easy in groups. I got it done, in not the best timing with assistance from another server. When I went out to grab food orders, I told them I'd be taking the order by checks and sending everything out separately based on that, to make it easier on the kitchen, and to help ensure everyone gets their hot food. A man said to me, "That's perfect. We have a flight to catch here soon." I should have known when he said it that he was going to be a problem. After all the time it takes me to get the food ordered and put in, each of our entrees have multiple sides, so it's never 1 or even 2 button presses. I went ahead and got everyone's checks together so that they could be revised if necessary, and whoever was hurrying could go when they were ready. Food starts coming out 10 minutes later, by check as promised. The man who made the flight comment is getting more and more frustrated, asking where his food is. I tell him it's coming. His wife pays their tab with my manager, but not after wringing his neck that service was slow when they were in a hurry. Another 8 minutes of them waiting while everyone else's food comes out. They ask for their food to be packaged to go. I do not know why their order took longer than everyone else's, especially because theirs was put in second. They grow more impatient. I go back outside and say, "Those of us who have gotten food, how is everything? Do we need anything?" I guess this really set him off. He proceeds to yell at me, "I specifically fucking told you we had a flight to catch and—" He started to say something else, and I cut him off with a smile and, "Let me go get a manager for you." Because being spoken to like that is above my pay grade, especially when his wife already yelled at my manager and already left me $5 on their $120 tab. Eventually, they got their food packaged to go and left. Your poor time management does not equal my emergency. If you had a flight to catch, why eat out at all, especially at a busy breakfast restaurant on a Sunday morning with 15 other people? I hope he missed his flight and learned that maybe next time to eat the $16 McDonald's meal in the terminal. 2. For backstory. I work at a pub and we offer events through our events department and manager. I usually work most of those events and recently had a formal work dinner. Mind you, it's a plated dinner, so they have a pre-made menu, and it's an open bar. So I start the party with getting their drinks, seeing what they do. I'm nosy, and why am I surrounded by so many smart people? And get settled in for their dinner service to start. Once they're all set to begin their work event, I start rolling in their first appetizers for each table. This is when I'm also taking down which main entree they would like off their limited menu. Once I'm finished doing so, I let my kitchen manager know that I need 15 fish and chips, as well as the count for the other entrees, so they make the food fresh, and are dropping it by my event entrance for me to run. This is where it all begins. I drop my last meal to the party, and feel on top of the world that everything's going so smooth and good. until I walk out the door and I'm greeted with a full food tray of fish. I'm like, what the fuck? Am I really that illiterate? I fucked this up. I slowly opened the loud-ass creaky door to their very quiet presentation. I took a sigh of defeat every time I was in there, and skim around the room like a little mouse, making sure everything was actually good. Everything was, so I slip out of the room. And there's another tray of fish next to the other one. I'm starting to low-key gaslight myself and get in my head that I genuinely messed something up, so I hit my little mom walk to the kitchen. As I walk in, I go, "Hey guys, Jay, I love you guys, but I have the whole Atlantic Ocean." Looked into the window and saw it was full of fish and chips, and my jaw just drops. I turned to my manager and let them know I didn't need that much fish and chips, and everyone's just confused. The kitchen manager for my party comes to the front, and we put a hard stop on Fishgate. I'm talking heavy no mas. After we put a halt on the infiltration of Atlantis, my manager goes, "Well, I hope everyone likes fish. Everyone's leaving with one." Man's turned into Irish Oprah, and we all came in happy like her fans. Anyways, they stop making the fish, and the management crew starts to see where things went womp womp. As they do that, I go back to my party, make sure they're good, and clear their tables for dessert. I double-check my head count and let my manager know what to make for dessert. I start to run the desserts, and midway through, the kitchen manager looks at me, laughing, and then lets me know that the line cooks thought he said 50 instead of 15 of the fish entree. The way my face resembled the shocked emoji. He laughed after he told me, and the kitchen was very light-hearted about it, and kept making jokes like, "Oh, you said 4 burgers. 40, we make 40. As well as my manager crew on that night. The rest of the party was smooth and ended pretty great. I'm just glad when the mishap was occurring, everyone was in light spirits and good energy. I would like to mention that I'm usually the only positive person through stuff like this at work most of the time. I feel like my coworkers hate that I'm mostly happy sometimes, but I enjoy giving them the energy of some positivity. Now we all have an inside joke with the kitchen, and know that if they really were slammed and needed 50 fish and chips, my kitchen could bust that shit out. 3. Been serving for nearly half a year now, and honestly I'm on the breaking point of quitting. Day started off fine. It was typically one of our busiest days, so I knew shit was going to hit the fan eventually. Moment I clock into my shift, I was made aware of some complaints my manager got from one of my previous tables yesterday. How I gave poor customer service, aka no plates, napkins, silverware. To top it off, the owner's wife was there. Fuck my life instantly, I thought. So, of course, the wife made a complaint to the owner. I explained to her how it was a valid reason to complain, since I was really slammed and didn't pace myself correctly. On top of me being stressed because of school and other stressors in my life. The conversation went well otherwise, and we left it at that, but I think since I walked in feeling like crap, the reprimand left me feeling on edge. Cut to me picking up this 10 top as I'm talking to one of my coworkers, as he notices them move the tables together. Now mind you, we are not allowed to move tables together because 1. Policy, 2. Fire hazard, 3. We have an uneven number of large tables for other parties. I sigh loudly, knowing that now I had another person to deal with and walk over. I let the party know that they aren't allowed to move the tables together. Instantly, I just get this feeling that this guy is going to be an asshole. He snaps at me. But why? It's just policy. They begin moving the table back. I don't mean to be rude, it just... He cuts me off. I know, we're moving it back. I instantly feel worse now I notice the guy only has 1 menu in a party of 10, so logically I offer more menus. He decides to snap at me. No, this is fine. We'll get you once we need you. Incredibly demanding and rude tone. It might not sound like a dickish thing to say, but with serving you can tell when people are annoyed at you with their tone of voice and body language. Especially body language. So, because of earlier and now this, I go to my manager's office to cry and just let some steam out. It's so unnecessary and rude to snap at someone who's just doing their job, especially over something they can't control. I was trying to be nice to top it all off. I'm really bad at confrontation with my tables. After my co-workers checking up on me and crying for a bit, I returned to take their drink order and food order with my face red and puffy. I swear I was going to tear up again if they said something else, as my lip was already twitching. I go get their drinks, and one of my co-workers, another server, comes up to me complaining about my table. She mentioned how he came up to her demanding why they couldn't move tables. She responded that it's policy and it was a fire hazard. And he went on about how that's bull and he's been here before and he's been able to move tables, blah blah blah. Then he demanded a manager. But he tells my coworker if the manager is just going to tell him the same thing. Dude, it's tables. Of course my coworker responds with yes, and she'll also get the manager. Guess what? Manager tells him the same thing we've all been telling him. Did you really need 3 people to get through your thick skull? The party ends up moving the tables anyway, but in the corner of the room now. My manager lets it pass just so I can get a decent tip, and I'm assuming less verbal abuse. Womp womp. All of that just for nothing. People can't take no for an answer. Anyway, I get their drinks and end up spilling a water because I genuinely feel like I'm losing it. And I won't survive this shift. I'm sure the Red Bull I drank earlier didn't help either. Luckily, the rest of the night went by smoothly and made decent tips. But man, fuck serving. 4. A good while back, my husband and I went into a chain steakhouse in a college town. My husband had on a pullover with the name of a rival college. Mind you, this town is huge. It's not your typical little college town. They also have a lot of rival teams. We live 1 county over, but we frequent this area because it has malls, restaurants, etc. My husband grabbed this pullover at the last minute because the temperatures dropped. He didn't wear it to antagonize anyone. It was grey with the name of a college, no meme or anything derogatory against any other schools. Anyway, we decided to run errands, and this place was near the mall and Walmart, so we stopped in to grab a bite to eat. It was busy since it was a Saturday. There wasn't a football game happening either, just a normal day. We were sat at a booth not too far from the kitchen. Our little server was the sweetest girl. I'm sure she was a student. She made a little small talk, took our drink order, and left. My husband wanted a big steak and the whole works. Salad, loaded baked potato, and baby carrots. I ordered a little filet, salad, and baked pot. We were sat around 1 p.m. in the afternoon. Like I said, they were busy but not slammed, because it wasn't a game day. She brought our drinks and seemed nervous and kept looking over her shoulder. She said your order is in and shouldn't be too long. We thanked her and just munched on the complimentary rolls. 25 minutes go by and she stops and checks on us. I told her while we can wait, I see a dessert menu for after dinner. Again, she wasn't her relaxed, chatty self like she was when we got sat in her section. Now, it's been close to an hour. We're not complainers, but my husband had worked the night before and was tired and hungry. I waved her down just to check on everything, and before she even got to the table, she started apologizing for the delay. This time she seemed irritated and she was super flushed. She said, "I'm fixing to go back into the kitchen and make sure your order wasn't overlooked." 15 more minutes go by, it's been over an hour now. We heard voices being raised from in the back but couldn't make out what was said. Another 5 to 10 minutes, and she comes to our table with her manager. They both apologized and said they wanted to be transparent about what happened. Apparently, the kitchen saw us get seated, noticed my husband's pullover and decided not to serve us. The manager said the cook was hoping we would get mad at waiting and just leave. My husband and I were speechless and could not believe that happened. The tables around us heard what the manager and server were telling us as well. Everyone stopped eating to listen. The manager comped our whole meal and gave us free desserts and even to-go desserts. He said the persons would be dealt with and it won't happen again. The server was mortified at the kitchen, and she kept apologizing and said she has never seen the kitchen do that to a customer. She also stayed and watched while they cooked and plated our food. She said at this point, I don't trust them not messing with our food. The surrounding tables were local. Even one had on their college gear. They all apologized and said not everyone in their town acts that way. His wife said people like that is why folks hate our football program. They hoped it didn't keep us from coming back to their town. We told them it wouldn't, and we appreciated their comments to us. Our server came back with the to-go desserts and brought to-go drinks as well. Since we didn't have to pay, we left her a $120 tip. She caught us as we were leaving out the door to thank us. She was in tears, she was so thankful. We told her how much we appreciated her, and we wished her well. 5. I work in hospitality, and I specifically work in a place which harbors a delightful clientele of old, really rich and really entitled white people. Here are some of my favorite interactions to tell people when I'm doing my service by convincing them to never take the job that I have. 1. Butter pants. So this one isn't my personal story, but it happened to our head waitress a while back. We have these regulars, a couple in their 80s, who come to the restaurant every week and eat and drink the exact same things each time without fail. If you were to just spot them and have a quick chat, you'd actually think they're kind people. However, with horror I must tell you guys that apparently once my colleague happened to experience butterfingers and dropped a little pot of bread and butter on the man's pants. Mortified, they apologize profusely, offer a free drink, the usual customer-pleasing BS. That was obviously not enough for our dear grandpa, so he demands quite angrily that she drop the butter on him. She had to personally clear it up off his pants, right by his crotch. Clearly she didn't do that, but I've come to learn that's the reason why she refuses to serve them again to this day. 2. 10-minute man. Another regular, I'm seeing a pattern, this time a man in his 40s. He comes in every couple of weeks, sometimes with his daughter, and always seems to be in a rush. He comes in, sits down wherever he wishes, and snaps his fingers at waiters, and demands of the quickest service possible because he has to leave in 15 minutes. It's a restaurant. On average, a starter takes 10 minutes to be made, and a main about 20. He has been informed of this several times and is always advised that the dishes he wants will take longer than the time he has, not even including the time he would spend eating. He continues without fault to order both the starter and the main, which take the longest to cook, and then complains 5 minutes after ordering that he hasn't received his food. Is it incompetence or ignorance, I wonder? 3. The intolerable sharers. This one's recent and still irritates me. We had this group of foreign businessmen come in for the first time, and immediately as they set foot through the door, I got the vibe that it'd be a long night. They came in on a Friday night with no reservation, but demanded the nicest table that would fit 8 of them. And of course, the owner bent over backwards for them. They took about 40 minutes to decide what they want to eat, and ordered nearly everything on the menu to share. That in itself was not an issue, the menu was small. However, they apparently wanted every single thing to come out one by one, and they wanted each and every one of these dishes to be served by one of the waiters to each of them in robotically proportional parts, when the policy in the restaurant is that customers serve their sharer plates themselves. As I wasn't in charge of that table, I personally didn't have to deal with them a lot up until their mains. I served them their pasta, and the man who somehow ended up their interpreter grabs me by the arm, pulls me uncomfortably close to him with force, and tells me that I have to serve the pasta to each of them. I politely, and through my attempt to not rip this man's hands off, tell him I cannot do that for him. He pushes for me to do it. I repeat that I can't, and tell him I'll grab my manager for him. He continues to do the same thing all night by breaking my personal space, and I eventually requested that my coworker deal with it, because I was becoming increasingly uncomfortable. That table ended up staying an entire 1.5 hours past restaurant closing time. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Spinning Plates, episode 238. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, hit that like button, I'd appreciate it. And if you'd like early access to these videos, then you can support me on my Patreon page, and you'll get them all near the start of the week, Monday or Tuesday at the very latest, usually Monday. You'll also find a link in the description for my Hellfreezer Teespring store. Get all the wonderful Hellfreezer merchandise. I was going to call it tasty there, but you can't eat it. I wouldn't recommend eating it. You should wear it, or if it's a mug, put hot drinks in it and drink them. Those will be tasty. Just wanted to clarify. And if you especially enjoyed today's video, why not leave a tip? Do that by clicking on the heart with the $sign underneath the video. And you don't have to. You'll never have to. We don't do that here, but I do appreciate it if you choose to. Okay. We have no more business today, I don't believe, unless someone slips in a birthday shout-out as I'm recording these. So let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is: who is your favourite bearded fictional character? Yes, that's random, but as I'm recording this, I have a desktop with Star Trek characters on it. It's the crew of the Enterprise D, and Will Riker is staring at me, looking very beardy indeed. However, shockingly, much as I like Will Riker, and I do, my favourite bearded character is the Green Arrow. No, not that one, the good one. Sadly, we've never really had a live-action version. I'm being a salty bitch, no need to correct me in the comments, but hopefully there'll be one coming up. Why don't you let me know yours in a comment below. And before we go, let's move right along to the answer of the day from a previous video. And this answer is in relation to people who play video games. Is there anything you're looking forward to coming up? And today's answer comes from Enza Sierra. I am really looking forward to Pacific Drive. Check out the spooky trailer for it. And we have a little ghosty emoji as well. Thank you very much for your answer, Enza. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.